let's unpack this. Today, we're diving headfirst into, well, something that's fundamentally reshaped almost everything, hasn't it? How we talk to friends, family, how we get news, even how, big global movements get started. We are, of course, talking about the social media revolution. And our mission here in this deep dive is to really distill the key insights, maybe uncover some surprising facts, and look at the real-world impacts using the sources you've given us. Because let's be honest, it's way beyond just cat videos now, right? It's this huge global force. It's got complex implications, touches everything, and understanding it feels pretty crucial for navigating, well, just modern life.
You've really hit on something key there, which is just the sheer scale of it all. What's truly fascinating here, I think, is how the numbers themselves paint a picture of just how deeply embedded this is in our daily lives. It's definitely not just some fleeting trend. So as of April 2025, we're looking at an incredible 5.31 billion active social media users worldwide.
5.31 billion.
Yeah. And to put that in perspective, that's nearly 2/3 of everyone on the planet, 64.7%.
Almost 2/3. That's staggering.
It is. And it's not standing still either. It's growing. About 4.7% every year, which means around 241 million new users join each year.
250 million new people every single year.
Exactly. Plugging into this whole ecosystem, it just reinforces how omnipresent it is. I mean, look at internet users. 94.2% of them are on social media. It's almost everyone online.
So if you're online, you're basically on social media.
Pretty much, yeah. And maybe the most telling thing, the time spent, on average, people are spending 2 hours and 21 minutes every single day.
2 hours, 21 minutes daily.
And for you, listening, these aren't just abstract stats, are they? They're really crucial for understanding the fabric of your own digital world. It affects how you connect, how you get info, maybe even your work, your hobbies. It's not just part of life anymore. For billions, you could argue it is life.
That daily usage figure alone, over 2 hours a day, that really hits home when you think about it cumulatively. Over a week, a month, a year. It's not just a quick glance, it's a significant chunk of our waking hours. And, okay, when we start breaking down who is using these platforms and where, here's where it gets really interesting, I think, because the patterns aren't the same everywhere, right? It's like this global tapestry, but with really distinct regional threads, cultural threads, too, demographic ones. Tells you a lot about digital adoption, societal norms, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Like Eastern Asia. They lead the way in mobile social media use, right? And that's not just random. It points to this deep mobile-first approach to tech they have there. Strong infrastructure, lots of smartphones, maybe denser cities where mobile is just king. They sort of leapfrog the whole desktop phase in many ways, embedding social media right into the rhythm of mobile life.
Yeah, that's a great point. And then in really stark contrast, you look somewhere like Southern Asia, and you see this pretty striking gender imbalance. It's about, 66% male users to 34% female?
Whoa, that's a big difference.
It is. And it's not just a number, right? It's a window into maybe deeper socio-cultural things going on. Could imply things about traditional gender roles, limiting access to devices, maybe economic factors affecting digital literacy differently. It's complex.
Right.
And then compare that again to North America or Western Europe. Much more balanced, almost exactly 50-50 male-female.
Okay, so more equitable adoption there.
Seems like it, yeah. Suggests maybe wider access, fewer societal barriers, at least in terms of gender, for getting online and engaging. The key thing, I think, is that, social media feels global. How it actually shows up, how it's used, is really shaped by local context, by existing structures.
And it's not just where you live or your gender. Age, obviously, plays a huge role. A massive role in how people use these platforms and maybe how the platforms shape the user too. Millennials, for example, they're the most active group overall, right? Something like 69.2% usage.
That's right.
Which makes sense. They kind of grew up as the internet went mainstream, dial-up to broadband, saw Facebook being born. So they're deeply integrated because they adapted along with it. But then you have Gen Z, particularly young women, 16 to 24. They're the daily usage champions, apparently. Nearly 3 hours a day, 2 hours, 59 minutes.
Almost 3 hours, yeah. It's quite intense.
That level of engagement, especially for Gen Z, it suggests something really profound about their formative years, doesn't it? These are the true digital natives. Their whole understanding of the world, social connections, maybe even their identity, it's all tightly linked to these online spaces.
Inextricably linked, you could say.
Yeah, their communication styles, shaped by fleeting trends, their expectations for interaction, instantaneous. even their political awareness, probably heavily mediated by algorithms because so much of their reality is explored, maybe even constructed through these platforms. I mean, the takeaway seems to be, for this generation, social media isn't just an app they use. It's like a primary lens for identity, for community, maybe even for self-worth, for better and sometimes for worse.
And if we connect that to the bigger picture, it just becomes crystal clear. Social media isn't just a handy tool anymore. It's really evolved into like a foundational digital infrastructure for modern life. You just have to look at the top platforms by users. As of 2025, the scale is just immense. It shows how vital they've become.
Which ones are leading the pack now?
Well, Facebook is still the giant. 3.15 billion monthly active users. That network effect is powerful.
3 billion plus, still.
Yeah, still. Then you've got YouTube right behind, 2.5 billion. It shows the global hunger for video, right? Instagram, solid at 2 billion, the visual hub. And TikTok, the relative newcomer, but it's surged past 1 billion. Totally redefined short-form video.
Yeah, its impact has been huge.
Absolutely. And these aren't just apps. You know, they're essential for keeping families connected across continents, friends sharing daily stuff. They're indispensable for businesses, new ways to market, sell directly, engage with customers on a granular level. Things unimaginable 20 years ago.
Right.
And, crucially, they're central to how information spreads. News, entertainment, knowledge, often replacing older media channels. The sheer number of users, the time they spend, it underlines that these aren't optional extras anymore. They're integral to how society functions, how information flows, how relationships work, how business gets done. The scale means their impact is systemic, not just personal.
That makes perfect sense. And it transitions us really neatly into thinking about news, because social media has absolutely revolutionized how we get and consume news. This is one of its biggest impacts, arguably. Huge opportunities, but also really complex challenges. Like, take the U.S. 25% of adults now say they frequently get news from social platforms.
A quarter.
Yeah, and that's up significantly from 17% just back in 2022. So it's a rapid, decisive shift in habits.
Definitely trending upwards.
And this shift represents what people call the democratization of information access, which basically means, you know, diverse voices, people who might never have gotten through traditional media gatekeepers because of bias or just lack of reach. They can now reach global audiences almost instantly.
Right, like citizen journalists, activists.
Exactly. Someone on the ground at an event sharing photos, videos in real time, bypassing the old gatekeepers entirely, which, theoretically, gives us way more perspectives than before, leads to a more informed, diverse public discussion, theoretically.
This raises an important question, though, because while that democratization is powerful, it comes with a huge challenge, and that's the rapid, often uncontrolled spread of misinformation. False information.
The flip side of the coin.
Precisely. We saw it very starkly in the 2020 U.S. elections, didn't we? False claims about voter fraud spreading like wildfire across platforms, undermining trust. And, you know, platforms like X or Facebook, they often argue, oh, news is just a small part of what people see. But the reality is, many users do go there specifically for news, for current events.
Right, they seek it out there.
They do. And the algorithms, which are designed purely to keep you engaged, can end up amplifying sensational stuff, emotionally charged stuff, doesn't matter if it's true or not. And that creates these echo chambers where false narratives can just thrive, completely unchecked sometimes.
Yeah, the echo chamber effect is worrying.
And the COVID-19 pandemic is just a perfect, maybe tragic example of this whole double-edged nature. On one hand, social media was absolutely vital for real-time health updates, getting emergency info out, public health officials talking directly to people.
Yeah, it was crucial for that initial information spread.
Crucial. Sharing info on symptoms, precautions, vaccines, potentially saved lives, kept people informed at a crisis. But then, on the other hand, at the exact same time, it became this breeding ground for conspiracy theories, unproven cures, dangerous medical misinformation.
Oh yeah, that was rampant.
And it had real-world consequences. People rejecting proven treatments, doing harmful things based on stuff they saw online. It just perfectly illustrates that paradox. Vital for public health info, yet also this uncontrolled amplifier of dangerous lies, which puts this huge demand on, well, on you, the listener, on all of us. This heightened responsibility as information consumers.
We have to be more critical than ever.
Exactly. It just underscores this critical, ongoing need for better digital literacy, teaching ourselves, teaching the next generation how to evaluate sources, question things, tell fact from fiction in this constant, often overwhelming stream of information.
And that struggle, that tension between the free flow of information and the need for accuracy, plus these growing safety concerns, that's clearly driving this major trend we're seeing now, which is the rise of regulation, government responses to social media.
Mhm.
It's obvious governments everywhere are getting more concerned about the societal impacts, and they're acting. A big part of it seems to be user safety, especially protecting vulnerable people like kids, young adults. They spend so much time online, often seeing stuff they just aren't equipped to handle.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is seeing the different ways different countries are tackling this. It reflects their own legal systems, cultural values, what they see as the main threat.
Right, it's not one size fits all.
Not at all. So, for instance, you've got France and Ireland. They're considering pretty strong measures, potentially outright bans for users under 15 or 16.
Yans. Wow.
Yeah, citing those mental health risks we talked about, exposure to inappropriate content. It highlights a growing concern, particularly in Europe, about the developmental impact on kids.
Okay.
Then you have the U.S. integrating social media into, like, national security processes, requiring Japanese visa applicants to disclose their social media history. That shows how these platforms have gone beyond personal stuff into areas like background checks, surveillance almost,
Yeah,
raises big privacy questions.
definitely.
And in the UK, they've brought in new laws about age verification, specifically for accessing adult content on social media platforms. It's part of a wider push for content regulation and child protection. Though actually implementing that verification effectively and privately is proving really tricky.
Yeah, I can imagine the technical hurdles there.
Exactly. So all these different actions, they really highlight this fundamental tension policymakers everywhere are wrestling with. How do you protect free expression, which is a core benefit, right?
Hmm?
Letting diverse voices speak, letting people organize. How do you protect that while also protecting vulnerable users, especially kids, from harm, from risks?
It's a balancing act.
A really tricky balancing act. The challenge for everyone, policymakers, the platforms themselves, is creating effective safeguards. Safeguards that actually reduce harm, but don't end up stifling the innovation and connection that made social media so valuable in the first place. It's this complex, ongoing debate, no easy answers, and something you, as a user, will probably see reflected in changing policies, platform features, maybe even legal fights in the years ahead.
Okay, so from that broad view of regulation, let's shift to something maybe more personal for a lot of listeners.
Hmm.
The really complex connection between social media and mental health. This is an area with so much research, so much public debate, and it shows, well, some worrying trends, but also some positive aspects too. One of the big things people talk about is comparison culture.
Hmm.
And it's not just, feeling a bit jealous of someone's holiday photos, it's more pervasive. It's this environment where you're constantly measuring your own life, your achievements, your looks, how happy you seem against these carefully curated, often idealized online versions of other people, these highlight reels.
Always seem the best version of everyone else.
Exactly. And it creates this relentless cycle of self-evaluation against a standard that's often just not real
Mm.
or sustainable. And we see the impact in studies. There was one that found people who frequently post about their fitness routines, for example, they're actually more likely to have psychological issues, anxiety, depression.
Really? That
Yeah.
seems counterintuitive.
Well, the thinking is it's the immense pressure of maintaining that perfect image they've put out there, needing that constant external validation, likes, comments, and the anxiety of maybe not living up to their own online persona.
Oh, okay. That makes sense, the pressure.
Yeah. And this pressure seems to hit Gen Z particularly hard. We mentioned they spend nearly 3 hours a day on these platforms, often during really formative years. So that constant exposure to what looks like everyone else's perfect life, the travel, the looks, the social life, it can foster these deep feelings of inadequacy, feeling like you're not enough. And ironically, even though they're constantly connected, it can lead to feeling really isolated, really lonely.
Seeing everyone else seemingly thrive while you might be struggling.
Exactly. Makes you feel uniquely alone in your struggles. Can definitely exacerbate existing vulnerabilities.
Right. But
Yeah.
if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's really important to stress it's not all negative. That would be too simplistic. A more nuanced view shows there's significant potential for mental health support on these same platforms.
Yeah, like what?
Well, think about campaigns like #BelletStalk in Canada. It's raised millions for mental health awareness, actively encourage conversations, help destigmatize things. That's huge. And beyond the big campaigns, there are countless online support communities, providing safe, often anonymous spaces for people facing similar challenges, managing illnesses, grief, mental health conditions, addiction,
Yeah.
you name it.
Peer support groups, basically.
Exactly. Offering invaluable peer support, shared experiences, reducing that stigma, creating a sense of belonging. That can be incredibly therapeutic, especially if traditional support isn't there or feels inaccessible.
That's a really important counterpoint.
And there's a specific case that illustrates both the problem and the potential for platforms to actually evolve. It was a study in 2023 about Instagram's algorithm. It found the algorithm was unfortunately promoting content linked to eating disorders among vulnerable users, young women especially.
That's serious.
Very serious. A stark reminder of how powerful and potentially harmful these recommendation engines can be. But, and this is the crucial bit, the response to that finding is also important. Instagram did implement significant policy changes, content filtering improvements, specifically to tackle that issue.
So they reacted.
They did. They invested in AI moderation to detect and reduce visibility of harmful pro-ana, pro-emia content, started promoting resources for help. It shows that when problems are identified, when there's enough public and maybe regulatory pressure, platforms can change. They can evolve to better protect users. It shows a growing, maybe sometimes reactive, but growing recognition of their responsibility here. So for you, the listener, understanding both the risks and these potential benefits is just key. Key to cultivating healthier digital habits. Using these tools positively, not letting them become sources of distress.
That idea of evolution of platforms responding to users and pressure, that's actually the perfect segue to our next point, which is just how incredibly dynamic this whole landscape is. It's constantly changing.
Never stand still.
Not at all. It's this constantly shifting ecosystem. Platforms are in this endless race, often pretty cutthroat for our attention. And a prime example of that dynamism, TikTok's rise, just meteoric.
Oh yeah, game changer.
It didn't just introduce short-form video, it completely redefined what social content is, drove this massive global shift towards sound-first, super shareable, algorithm-driven stuff, quick, digestible, highly engaging, resonated hugely with younger people, and basically reshaped expectations across the board.
Absolutely. Now everyone's scrambling to catch up.
Exactly. Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, every major platform is pouring money into short-form video to compete. Shows TikTok's massive influence. But it's not just one platform winning and others copying. New players keep popping up too, right? Challenging thing.
Yeah, there's always something new gaining traction.
We've seen things like Threads from Meta trying to leverage the Instagram base, and Bluesky came out of the Twitter sphere offering a more decentralized, protocol-based idea.
Different philosophies, different approaches to community, moderation, user control.
So it creates more choice, maybe, but also maybe more fragmentation?
Could be both, yeah. And the economic impact of
Yeah.
all this churn, this competition, it's immense. Social media ad spending alone projected to hit, what, $276.7 billion in 2025.
Wow. That's a huge market.
Massive. So what does all this constant change mean for you, the user? For businesses trying to keep up? Well, it means you have to continuously adapt, always new opportunities opening up for creators, for entrepreneurs, but it also contributes to that feeling of platform fatigue that people talk about.
Feeling overwhelmed by it all.
Exactly. Too many options, pressure to keep up with trends, the constant demand on your attention. It can be exhausting.
So, okay, we've talked about scale, usage, news, regulation, mental health, the changing platforms. But what does this all actually mean for the real world beyond just scrolling on our phones? It means the influence is vast, extending way beyond personal stuff or entertainment. It's creating real, tangible, transformative impacts across pretty much every sector you can think of. Reshaping industries, even societies. Let's start with business and marketing. It's a revolution there, right?
Totally revolutionized.
Companies have had to completely rethink how they market, how they engage customers, because the reach and targeting are just unparalleled. Take Nike. They use Instagram not just for cool photos, but for super targeted ads, reaching specific people precisely. And they build these strategic partnerships with influencers. Drives loyalty, drives sales, smart use of the platform's strengths.
Or Coca-Cola, a giant global brand, creating viral campaigns on TikTok, getting users involved, making content for them, turning customers into advocates.
User-generated content, yeah. Very powerful. It's not just an optional extra anymore, is it? Social media is absolutely core to modern business strategy, demands investment, creativity.
Definitely essential, not optional.
And then beyond commerce, think about social change, activism. Social media has become this incredibly powerful catalyst. It's democratized the ability to organize, to amplify voices that weren't heard before.
Hmm.
Movements like #MeToo, Black Lives Matter. They didn't just trend online. They gained real, unprecedented global momentum, reached millions through strategic social media campaigns, amplified marginalized voices, brought issues into the mainstream, sparked global conversations about injustice.
Things that might have stayed local or ignored otherwise.
Exactly. And even beyond those huge movements, just everyday grassroots organizing. Platforms like X, Twitter, they enable rapid coordination, protests, awareness campaigns, community support, all happening in real time. It's completely changed the landscape for advocacy, speed, reach. It's unprecedented.
Yeah. And what's fascinating here and directly connected to that is the rise of the creator economy. That's one of social media's biggest economic impacts, I'd say.
The creator economy, right. People building careers online.
Exactly. Look at someone like Charlie D'Amelio. Literally built a multi-million-dollar career starting with dance videos on TikTok. Her story just shows the incredible potential for personal branding, for direct monetization, bypassing all the old media gatekeepers.
You don't need a studio or a network anymore.
Not necessarily. Everyday people with unique skills, perspectives, entertainment value. They can build huge followings, turn passions into actual income, and often it's through these very specific niche communities.
Right, finding your tribe online.
Precisely. Creators connect directly with really engaged audiences who share specific interests. Obscure crafts, deep history dives, specialized gaming, unique education. Allows for diverse, sustainable income from specialized knowledge or talent. It's a whole new kind of entrepreneurship.
And that direct access, building an audience without intermediaries, that also feeds into politics, doesn't it?
Oh, profoundly. Huge implications for political influence, democratic participation. Look at the 2024 election campaigns. Just extensive, sophisticated use of social media across the spectrum.
Bypassing traditional media, going direct to voters.
Exactly. Direct engagement, shaping opinion through highly targeted messages, reaching people right where they spend their time. And this direct, often unfiltered communication, it just speeds everything up. The pace of political conversation is faster, real-time responses to events, policies, public discourse shifts in minutes, not days, often drives the mainstream news agenda itself.
Yeah, the speed is incredible.
It's irrevocably altered campaigning public debate.
Okay, here's a fantastic story that kind of pulls a lot of these threads together, shows the power for positive collective impact. Remember the #Ice Bucket Challenge back in 2014?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was everywhere.
Everywhere. This viral phenomenon. People dumping ice water on their heads, filming it, sharing it, nominating others, all to raise awareness and money for ALS research.
Simple, visual, highly shareable.
Exactly. Leverage, social proof, peer pressure, all for a good cause. And it worked. Spectacular.
There's a ton of money to...
Over $115 million globally for ALS research, mobilized huge participation from regular folks to huge celebrities.
Incredible result.
It really showed how social media could turn the simple, kind of silly, fun act into a genuine global movement, driving massive awareness, tangible financial support, all through engaging, user-generated content that just crossed borders. A powerful testament to how these platforms can connect people for collective good.
It really is. And if we try to connect all this to the bigger picture, look towards the future, several key insights really stand out from our discussion, I think, highlighting just how pervasive and transformative this all is. First, just the sheer universal connectivity. Over 64% of the global population active. These platforms are clearly fundamental infrastructure now. Communication, information, commerce, woven into daily life for billions. Not optional.
Foundational.
Second, information responsibility. Because social media is a primary news source for so many, the onus is huge. On users, on you, to develop really strong critical evaluation skills. To fight misinformation while still getting the benefits of democratized access, you have to be discerning, skeptical, but constructive.
It demands active engagement, not passive scrolling.
Precisely. Third, that tricky search for regulatory balance. Governments face this ongoing dilemma. Protecting users, especially kids, from harm, mental health risks, bad content, while also preserving innovation, free expression, connections. That tightrope walk needs constant reevaluation as tech changes.
No easy fix there.
None at all. Fourth, mental health awareness. Crucial for everyone, especially younger people, to get both sides. Understand the risks, comparison culture, harmful algorithms, but also the benefits, support communities, awareness campaigns. That nuanced view helps build healthier digital habits, navigate these spaces better for well-being.
Using it intentionally. Yeah. Fifth, platform innovation isn't stopping. It's relentless. The ecosystem keeps evolving. New platforms, new features, new formats will constantly redefine how we create, consume, interact online. Demands constant adaptation from all of us.
Always something new around the corner.
Always. And finally, sixth, the practical applications. They just keep expanding, revolutionizing marketing, creating the creator economy, fueling activism, enabling personal branding, transforming politics. Social media's real-world impact touches almost every part of life, creates huge opportunities, and sometimes huge challenges too.
So as we move through 2025, it's clear, isn't it? The social media revolution shows absolutely no signs of slowing down. Not at all. These platforms, as we've explored, they offer just unprecedented opportunities for connection, education, empowerment, economic development. The scale, the speed, it's unlike anything before.
Truly unparalleled.
But it's just as important, maybe even more so, to keep acknowledging the challenges. They are significant. The spread of misinformation, which can be insidious. The documented mental health risks affecting millions. The complex questions around privacy, regulation, platform power.
Can't ignore those.
Success in this, well, this pervasive digital landscape we live in now, it really requires thoughtful, critical engagement with these platforms. For you, listening, that means using these tools responsibly, staying informed about their impacts of the good and the bad, supporting positive regulatory moves that genuinely protect people and foster a healthier online space, and just maintaining that constant, conscious awareness of how they affect your mental health, your real-world relationships.
Being mindful.
Exactly. The key isn't trying to avoid these powerful platforms altogether. That's becoming almost impossible, maybe even impractical. It's more about using them more intentionally, more constructively, as we all try to navigate this digital future together. Harnessing the power, mitigating the perils, that's the goal, I think.
And maybe just as a final thought for you to consider, something to chew on. As new platforms inevitably emerge beyond the Threads and Blueskis we see now, how might that next wave of innovation try to tackle some of these challenges we've discussed?
Interesting question.
Will future platforms maybe have built-in ways to fight misinformation more effectively from the start? Or features designed specifically to promote mental well-being, healthier interactions? Or, conversely, will they just introduce entirely new challenges, problems we can't even foresee yet? It's worth reflecting maybe on your own evolving relationship with these incredibly powerful tools, and how you might consciously shape their impact on your own life and maybe on the world around you.